Hello and welcome to another episode of Brainstorm Horror. My name is Jewel, and I want to talk about one of my favorite slasher movies, one of my favorite horror movies, and that is Freddy vs. Jason. And this movie, I love Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th is probably one of my favorite horror movie series. I love A Nightmare on Elm Street too, so bringing both Freddy and Jason into a movie is a fucking great idea. I love the idea. I love this movie. Um, of course, at the end of part 9 of Friday the 13th, part 9, Jason Goes to Hell, Freddy comes up and grabs Jason's mask out of the ground and carries it down into hell. So, at the beginning of Freddy vs. Jason, if you haven't seen it, we get a great introduction of Freddy and like a kind of like storytelling, backstory to Freddy, and him dying in a fire by um, the parents of Elm Street, children burning him to a crisp. Uh, so in this film, we also see Jason gets resurrected kind of by Freddy pretending to be Jason's mom. And as Jason's mom, Freddy tells Jason to go to Elm Street, kill the kids there. Um, so that's the beginning of Freddy vs. Jason. I love the um, the gore in this movie. It's really intense. They did. It's not Kane Hodder, which we Kane Hodder is one of my favorite Jasons. I love Ted White and I love Richard Brooker. I love every Jason, to be honest. Even like Robert Dash, Part Two and stuff like that. I love every Jason, but this one it's Ken Kersinger, I believe, and he's kind of more of a Frankenstein Jason, kind of an undead Jason. Still a really brutal Jason, really cool. Um, and so yeah, in the beginning we get Freddy talking to Jason. Jason goes to Elm Street. He commits a murder in 1428 Elm Street. The house, a girl named Lori's living there, and some of her friends are there. And Jason ends up killing one of them in a really intense gory scene, and like kind of like picks the bed up and like slams his feet are up like this too. I don't know, it's hard to describe, but his feet are like back and it like breaks his back kind of thing, and it's like holy fuck. But Jason is very brutal in this scene. But anyways, the kids freak out. The cops show up. They find out that it's the same house that the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise has been going through. 1428 Elm. Um, that's where Nancy lived in part 1, right? So they think Freddy had something to do with it, and so that starts basically the fear of Freddy starts between the police, and then the kids start hearing the name Freddy and all this, and Lori has a dream sequence when she falls asleep in the cop shop, and that also builds fear. It's basically the children's fear that gives Freddy his power. And so he's trying to regain that. So the first murder happens, they think that's Freddy. Then the kids end up going to school, and then one of the kids who was with the kids that night also dies because we see Jason killing him and his dad. Trey was the first murder in 1428 Elm Street. And then his friend, I forget his name, but him and his dad get killed the same night. And then the kids go to school. Will shows up with his friend. I forget, I think his friend's name is Mark in this movie. I really like Will's friend's character in this movie. He seems like he knows more about the stuff with Freddy than most of the other kids. He ends up spreading more fear though at the school and makes Lori actually pass out. And then she goes to the infirmary at school. Will and Mark, they jet off because the police show up. And then next we have a party at a cornfield after school. There's a huge rave going on in a cornfield. This is probably one of the best sequences of the film. You get to see partying happening and people smoking weed, and the one guy's like, if this Everclear is kicking my ass. But yeah, Jason shows up. Um, the one guy goes up to Jason and he's like, you weren't invited, and Jason just like spins his head like 180 and like breaks his neck. That's a great scene. The fat guy, also really funny guy. He also plays in Supernatural. I don't know the actor's name, but really funny guy, cracking jokes at Jason. He sets Jason on fire. Jason ends up throwing his machete that's on fire like so far, and then it goes through the fat guy, and then he just like goes around rampaging with the rest of the kids while the rave like dies off. And then I think Gib dies. Jason steals Freddy's kill because Freddy was in Gib's dream and he was about to kill her, but then Jason kills her, and Freddy gets really pissed off at this point because he wants the souls of the children, and Jason's stealing his kills basically, you know. So, like a video game or something, right? No, but no, so Freddy starts getting pissed. He goes into a dream with Jason and they start fighting. And then eventually Lori pulls Jason out of it, I think. And the kids end up going back to Weston Hills with one of the police officers that's helping them. That I'm also forgetting a scene where the kids go back to a hideout after the cornfield incident, where the rave took place and where the massacre happened with Jason that just unfolded. They go back to a house and they're just chilling there, kind of just thinking up ideas of, how are we gonna attack? What's our plan of attack against Jason and Freddy? Like, who should we go after? And at this point they figure out, Freddy's pulling most of the strings, but Jason's also, there. It's they're not safe either awake or asleep. So they end up going back to Weston Hills trying to get Hypnosil so they'll be safe while they're dreaming. Freeburg is in Weston Hills and he starts blazing with Freddy. Freddy turns into this kind of like cockroach kind of thing that starts smoking a hookah, and he blows a huge hoot in Freeburg's face. Freeburg's like, hold on, man. He wants to get like high with this thing, right? And Freeburg eventually gets possessed by Freddy because Freddy jumps inside him and like crawls inside his mouth and stuff. And that's some cool CG I think was used for that. We also get to see a whole ward of people that are in a coma from Hypnosil, and I liked how the one guy has like bloody like eyes or whatever. It looked really cool. Anyways, Jason shows up, cuts Freeburg in half while Freddy's possessing him, but Freeburg, that was possessed by Freddy, tranquilizes Jason. So then the kids get Jason into Mark's brother's van that they've been driving, like Misfits kind of van or whatever. It's really cool. I actually have a Misfits poster thanks to my buddy Cody. But anyways, getting off topic. So they start driving Jason back to Crystal Lake. Lori goes into a dream to pull Freddy through a dream so that Jason can fight Freddy at Crystal Lake. That ends up actually happening. Their plan works, and Laurie pulls Freddy through her dream, and then Jason starts fighting Freddy in real life instead of before they were fighting in the dream sequence. So now Freddy is kind of at a disadvantage, and the fight of Freddy versus Jason, the big fight starts to happen, and it's a great action sequence. I love the torpedoes that Freddy fires. They're these air canisters that he starts firing at Jason. There's a big um, there's a big thing on a chain, well, not a chain, but like a wrecking ball kind of thing that hits Jason a bunch and Freddy a bunch, and they start fighting. Um, One of the main characters, Kia, I think, dies, and then Jason just like slams her into a tree really hard. But she had a cool joking thing with Jason though. I thought that I forget her name. She was one of the Destiny's Child, like Beyonce, with Beyonce. I forget her name though. Very good acting, I thought, with all the actors, but especially her. She did a fine job. Um, but anyways, it ends up that uh, Jason and Freddy start fighting a lot. Jason gets beat up, and then Freddy tries to end Laurie and Will at the end, but Jason ends up sticking. Well, I think at one point Jason rips off Freddy's arm, and then he eventually sticks his arm with the glove through Freddy's like chest, and then Freddy gets his head cut off by Laurie. Uh, Welcome to my world, bitch. Awesome scene. The death of Freddy. Um, I love the ending. I think Jason wins, but to be honest, there's that little wink at the end with the decapitated head of Freddy, winking, where Jason's carrying his head. Jason's carrying Freddy's head, and Freddy's eye winks, and then you hear the Freddy laugh at the end. So it's like, well, did he really win, right? So it's I like how the ending is like that. So it's like, oh well, you can choose who wins, or like it doesn't matter. It's just a horror movie. I think I love Jason, I love Freddy, but I'll always be more Jason, I guess. But um, yeah, great ending. Then there's a big explosion that happens at the end at Crystal Lake with all the propane that Laurie and Will light. They light the fire, and there's a huge explosion, and Freddy and Jason go flying into the water. Um, Eventually, Laurie throws the machete back into the water, and Jason recedes back into the water. Also, Freddy gets decapitated, and then that's pretty much the gist of Freddy versus Jason. Um, I love this movie. I watch it a couple times a year. It's just really, it's one of the best Friday 13th or A Nightmare on Elm Street. It's one of the best. If you're looking for a good one to watch, this is one of the best ones. Definitely. So, thank you for watching Brainstorm Horror. I might come at you with some more videos, horror related videos, and some other news later. Thank you so much. I hope all my friends are well, and thank you so much for your support. Appreciate it. Thanks.